everybody, welcome back for day 2 of our Fun Facts article. I'm Kat.
And I'm Mike.
And we talked yesterday about deadlines.
Yes, we did. We were talking about some horrible idioms, expressions that we use in English that are very common today and don't really mean anything too special. But when you look at the origin, the history, where these expressions come from, it gets real dark real fast. Where did deadline come from?
Well, it came from a Confederate prison camp, that's the southern side, in the American Civil War.
So during a war, prisoners in a camp had to follow the deadline, or don't go over the deadline. It was a line near the edge of the prison, near the wall or the fence where people might try to escape. So this line was maybe, a few meters away. If you crossed the line, you could get shot dead. So that was the deadline. Step over the line, you could die.
Yeah, and I guess, it sort of feels that way if you miss a deadline today, that you feel like you want to die because you missed an important assignment. You're late.
It's certainly a rule from a boss or someone, and you really should pay attention and follow that rule. Just like you don't want to step over a deadline, you don't want to break the deadline when you owe something to your teacher or boss or someone else.
Yeah, for sure. So there's other horrible idioms too. I mean, we talked about throwing somebody under the bus, biting your head off.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, but today we're going to talk about one that has to do with a body part. Yep. So let's go ahead and find out what that is.
Reading.
Fun facts. One frightful English phrase that hasn't changed so much in meaning is turn a blind eye. You may know that it means to ignore something. What you won't know, though, is that its origins lie with one of the UK's greatest military heroes. Early in his career, Admiral Nelson already stood out as one of the British Navy's brightest sailors. He was known for his daring strategies, though these didn't always play out in his favor. In 1794, he lost the sight in one eye during a battle on the French island of Corsica. In 1801, he fought in the Battle of Copenhagen. The British Navy was fighting Denmark and Norway, and its leader, Admiral Parker, believed it couldn't win. He signaled to Nelson, who was on another ship, to retreat. Nelson, however, pretended he couldn't see it, saying, "I have only one eye. I really do not see the signal." Nelson fought on and won the battle. He became head of the Navy and helped the UK become Europe's most powerful country. That's not bad for ignoring orders.
All right, our article starts out today. One frightful English phrase that hasn't changed so much in meaning is turn a blind eye. Yeah, so if you're blind in an eye, it means you're definitely not going to see anything over here. So frightful here is another way to say horrible or frightening. It kind of gives you a creepy feeling or something like a scary story.
Sure, absolutely. It'll definitely scare you. And talk about turning a blind eye. Of course, if you're blind, it means your eye doesn't work properly. It doesn't work like it does for most people. If you're completely blind, then you can't see at all right? So why would we be turning our blind eye to something? Well, we'll find out. But first it says, you may know that it means to ignore something. Yeah, that's basically how we use it today. If you turn a blind eye to something, you're ignoring it and you're kind of choosing to ignore it. It's not because you didn't know about it, no one told you, or you didn't notice. It's because someone said, hey, there's that thing there, and you're like, yeah, I'll get to that. And then you basically make sure that you don't get to that. You choose to ignore it. You turn a blind eye to something.
Yeah, usually this talks about people doing bad behaviors.
Yeah, kind of thing like that. Exactly, very good. So if you ignore, this basically means you don't pay attention to something. You probably should. You should notice it. You should spend some time on it, but you're choosing to not do it. Maybe because you didn't know and it was an accident, but often because you just don't want to. For example, example, because Larry ignored the teacher's instructions, he made a mistake on his test. The teacher told him to answer all the questions on the first page and then flip it over and answer the ones on the back, and he was playing with his phone, so when he finished the first page, he thought he was finished the test.
Oops.
And he only did half of it. He
I've done
turned
that
a blind
before.
eye to the teacher's instructions.
Ah, or maybe, he just, didn't think it was important.
Possibly, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Anyway, so what you won't know, though, about this idiom
To
is...
turn a blind eye, yeah.
is that its origins lie with one of the UK's greatest military heroes.
Margaret Thatcher?
No.
No, not Margaret Thatcher. All right, let's find out who this great military hero who turned a blind eye to something is. It says early in his career, Admiral Nelson already stood out as one of the British Navy's brightest sailors. Absolutely. He is probably Britain's greatest military hero, even to this day.
That's right.
All right, so what is an admiral? An admiral is basically a general in the Navy, all right? Generals are the top officers in the Army. They have the stars on their shoulders. They command thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Well, in the same way an admiral is the top-ranked officer in the Navy, they wouldn't maybe command thousands of soldiers, but hundreds of boats, probably.
Yeah,
so they would
ships.
be in charge of a lot of the ships, the boats, the military equipment they have in the Navy. So a pretty important person. Now, if you stand out, you're basically doing something that brings you attention. You're doing something that gets you noticed, all right? Generally, this is a good thing. If you do something naughty and wrong, you could stand out. But we often praise people who stand out because while everyone was being lazy, they were working hard. While everyone wasn't paying attention, they were listening and doing the right thing. And in that situation, we notice them. They stand out.
Yeah, so he was definitely a standout kind of figure. Yeah, he was known for his daring strategies, though these didn't always play out in his favor. So daring here could be a good thing or a bad thing, but it's an adjective meaning brave and without fear, and you're able to do scary things with confidence. You are able to dare. So, that could be bad if you have too much confidence, but if you're smart about it, it could be a really good thing. Now, if you're daring, it can also mean that it's kind of something that would surprise other people because it does what others normally won't do. So, like, if we go to KTV and you pick a daring choice of song, maybe something hard to sing?
Oh, okay, like Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, and I'll sing all the parts by myself.
That sounds very hard. Sounds like you'd run out of breath.
I would die of embarrassment.
I will help you out. I love that song. All right. So an example sentence for daring. For brave daring. When the guards weren't looking, the prisoners made a daring escape from the camp, risking their lives in the process. Kind of goes back to that deadline. So we talk about him being a daring admiral, but we also talk about him having daring strategies. A strategy is a plan for how you're going to do something difficult. They talk about it a lot in things like the military, usually for war, for things like sports where you have to have a lot of rules and a lot of complicated moves, games, especially board games, group projects where you have a lot of steps to complete, or trying to accomplish some other very large task. You think of different steps and different ways to do things, who's going to do what thing, so on and so on. It's different from tactics. You might hear strategy and tactic almost used interchangeably, but tactics are techniques or moves you can use as part of a strategy. So a strategy is like the whole game plan, and a tactic is like part of the game plan. So an example sentence might be, our strategy for this battle is to get the enemy into an open space, then surround them and capture them. That is a strategy. That's your battle plan. So what was his daring strategy?
Well, before we get to the strategy and why he turned a blind eye to something, we have to get a little bit of background history about how he became blind in one eye in the first place. You can't turn a blind eye if you're not blind.
Yeah, if you don't have a blind eye, you can't turn a blind eye.
In the real sense, of course, as an expression you can. But in this case, he did actually have a blind eye. How? It says in 1794, he lost the sight in one eye during a battle on the French island of Corsica. People go to war, bad things happen. People get shot, hurt, blown up, wounded, little bits of wood go in your eye, whatever. People do have bad things happen to them and get injuries. In this case, Lord Nelson's injury was he lost an eye back in 1794. We have to say at this time of history, you know, doctors and hospitals weren't great.
No.
It was quite common for sailors and other people to lose arms, legs, hands, eyes, things like that. And they would often consider themselves lucky.
Yeah,
in
especially
many
like
cases.
You know, your brain's behind your eye, so it's lucky that he didn't even get
just
through
lose
the
the eye and don't die of a blood infection, you're doing well.
Yeah,
all right,
true.
so that was 1794, but what we're talking about didn't happen back in 1794, right?
Right, it happened a few years later. So in 1801, he fought in the Battle of Copenhagen. That's the capital city of Denmark. The British Navy was fighting Denmark and Norway, and its leader, Admiral Parker, believed it couldn't win. I think that's the leader of the British Navy.
That's right. Admiral Parker was a very cautious, careful, and timid commander, and he didn't want to get the British ships too close to the Copenhagen guns and their gunship. So he was, we can't go too close. And Nelson was more like, no, we have to charge straight into them. So Nelson was being a little naughty, to be honest. He signaled, this is Admiral Parker, who was in charge, was Nelson's boss. He signaled to Nelson, who was on another ship, to retreat. Oh, so Admiral Parker saw this situation. He thought it was very dangerous. As an admiral, you don't want to lose a lot of your ships. That's bad for your career.
Yeah.
So he signaled to Nelson, who was on another ship, to retreat, to pull back. We'll find out about that word retreat after we find out about that first vocabulary word there, signal. All right, to signal here, to signal is to send a signal. Now, you could be sending a message by phone or an email, but that's not usually what we're talking about. A signal is usually something that's probably visual. You can probably see it. So think of someone waving a red flag to show danger. Think of someone standing on the opposite side of the street and waving their arms to get your attention or something like that. That's kind of what we mean here by signal. If you're flashing a flashlight at someone at night to show them where you are, you're signaling to that person. Now, of course, you can signal using a machine or technology, but often it's pretty simple. Often something as simple as just waving your hands to get attention. For example, Melanie signaled her children by honking the car horn. Doing something that makes noise to get people's attention will be another good way to signal someone. And we also had this word to retreat. Okay, to retreat. This is actually sort of a military word they use, you know, in soldiers and battles in history when studying wars and stuff. To retreat is basically to pull back in an organized way. The bad guys are attacking, they're a little too powerful. You don't want your soldiers to lose the battle. You don't want your soldiers to turn around, drop their guns, and just run for their lives. So you plan for them to pull back in an organized way. So we would attack, we would advance by going forward, and we retreat by going backwards. And hopefully by retreating well, you will still keep keep most of your soldiers safe and in fighting condition. That's the plan.
Or you get back to a more secure point.
You're pulling back to a better defensive position. For example, the soldiers retreated into the castle as the larger army approapproached. At first they saw a few soldiers, let's go get them, and then they realized there's a lot of them, and let's run back into the castle where we're safe and lock the doors.
Yep, lock the doors.
And then go, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, insult them as the French do. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now we're back to this Battle of Copenhagen.
Right. So, retreat, Admiral Parker tells Nelson, retreat.
Do you think Nelson would retreat? Of course he would not. He's a daring strategist. Nelson, however, pretended he couldn't see it, saying, I have only one eye. I really do not see the signal. Do you think he's lying?
Yeah, he's lying.
For sure. Yeah. So he pretended. This is kind of like lying. Now, pretend is a verb that means to act like something isn't true, or you kind of play it not real situations. So we often pretend we don't know something, so we don't have to talk about it, or so we can act without having to think about it. Now, kids do this a little bit differently. They play pretend by acting like heroes and bad guys and playing house or playing with dolls or cooking fake food. Admiral Nelson is not pretending that way. He's pretending by kind of, ignoring. That's another way of pretending. So an example sentence might be, when Janet's old boyfriend called out to her on the street or signaled to her, she pretended not to hear him and kept walking.
Oh, this is kind of like when you're listening to music and you can hear your mom telling you to come down for dinner.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because I was listening to music.
The music was so loud.
You heard them, we know, but
Yeah.
you're pretending like you didn't. All right, so I don't see that signal. They've put up all these flags and I should know what it's telling me to do, but I just didn't see it. What are you going to do?
I got a blind eye.
I'm Nelson. Everyone loves me. Anyway, so Nelson fought on and won the battle. There you go. He disobeyed the orders of his commander, which is a serious crime in the army, in the navy, but he did win the battle, and so, well, okay.
Well, so
All
did he get punished?
No, everyone loved him.
Of course not. Maybe Parker got kind of, made fun of for trying to retreat and be a coward. I don't know.
Kind of.
Yeah, so the article continues, Nelson became head of the Navy, woohoo, and helped the UK become Europe's most powerful country.
Yeah, there you go. And as it says, that's not bad for ignoring orders. Generally, if you ignore orders, you'll get in trouble. You'll get blamed for all the problems you're causing. But if you're very brave and you ignore the orders and then you end up the big winner, the big hero, you might get away with it. So, yeah, it's not
kind of like a bet.
That's right. That's not bad for ignoring orders. Becoming a hero, even though he was disobeying his commanding officer, not a bad result for Nelson.
Yeah.
And then he got shot 4 years later.
Oh dear,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Yeah. But I mean, I guess, he still did some pretty great
There's
things.
a big statue of him in London, and I don't know if there's one of Admiral Parker anywhere nearby.
Maybe in his hometown.
Possibly.
I don't know. But anyway, that's the end of our 2 days of fun facts, and that's the end of the idioms that we have for you. I hope that you found it a fascinating story. I sure did. Now we are going to go to our For You chat.
For You chat.
Okay, so what's our chat question today?
Well, the chat question is about other idioms that relate to parts of the body. Nelson turned a blind eye to something. What other parts? What other expressions or idioms can we make up using our body parts? So, can you think of any other idioms that relate to body parts? And what do they mean? Now, I know you have one, and actually we should go to this one because Nelson not only lost an eye, he lost an arm too. He lost his right arm too.
I did not know that. Did he have a wooden arm?
No, he just had no arm. He just had a cool little sleeve that he pinned to his jacket.
Fair enough.
So you had an idiom about arms, right? Not about losing them, but just about the arm.
Yeah, well, it's almost about injuring your arm
Okay,
too.
what are we going to do with our arm?
Twist my arm!
Oh, twist my arm.
Yeah.
Oh,
so if you twist
okay.
my arm, it's sort of our sarcastic saying. Like when somebody asks you if you want to do something, and you actually really do want to do it, and it's obvious to them that you want to do it, you say, twist my arm.
Exactly. I got free front row tickets for the big concert this Saturday. Do you want to go?
Twist my arm.
Oh, twist my arm.
Because if they're twisting your arm, it means they're, no, okay, I'll go.
Generally, a bully would twist your arm if you're a little kid at school. He's twisting my arm. You have to give me your chocolate bar or something like that. So that's
forcing someone to do
normally
something.
how we would use it. Yeah, you're forcing someone through pain to say yes to what you want them to do. But in this case, of course, when we normally use it, we're saying yes to something that we would of course say yes to. We're being sort of joking and sarcastic, like, oh, I really don't want to do that amazing thing.
Yeah, who would want to do that?
You'll have to twist my arm and make me do it. Of course, we don't.
And maybe somebody would touch your arm and you'd be like, okay, I'll do it.
There you go. So, twist my arm, an expression you can use to jokingly show someone that you, of course, will take their offer. You, of course, will do what they're asking you to do. Yeah. Now, what about you guys? Any other body part idioms you can think of? chat about those, explain them, maybe teach a friend a new expression, and we'll see you back here in the future with lots more great articles, and I guarantee we'll have all our arms and legs and eyes, hopefully.
Hopefully. I hope you didn't just curse us there.
No, we're going to be fine. Break a leg.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Fun facts. One frightful English phrase that hasn't changed so much in meaning is turn a blind eye. You may know that it means to ignore something. What you won't know, though, is that its origins lie with one of the UK's greatest military heroes. Early in his career, Admiral Nelson already stood out as one of the British Navy's brightest sailors. He was known for his daring strategies, though these didn't always play out in his favor. In 1794, he lost the sight in one eye during a battle on the French island of Corsica. In 1801, he fought in the Battle of Copenhagen. The British Navy was fighting Denmark and Norway, and its leader, Admiral Parker, believed it couldn't win. He signaled to Nelson, who was on another ship, to retreat. Nelson, however, pretended he couldn't see it, saying, "I have only one eye. I really do not see the signal." Nelson fought on and won the battle. He became head of the Navy and helped the UK become Europe's most powerful country. That's not bad for ignoring orders.
Vocabulary Review.
Ignore. Kieran's mom warned him it was too wet to go hiking, but he ignored her and went anyway. Daring. The daring firefighter ran into the burning building and saved the little girl. Strategy. Though the other team had better players, Evan's team won the soccer game because its strategy was better. Signal. The captain signaled with her hand for the soldiers to attack. Retreat. The soldiers realized they couldn't win the battle and retreated to the castle. Pretend. Miranda pretended to believe John's story, even though she didn't.
智慧小补帖
Frightful. Admiral.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作。活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net